from a basketball-only standpoint, it's a no-brainer for St. John's. They have walked through the wilderness post-Louis Carnesecca for 30 years. And in the Big East now, they've been passed by just about everybody but DePaul. I mean, almost everybody's better than St. John's almost every year. And let's say this about the Big East. The Big East is fun. In terms of college basketball, yes, it is not what it once was in the early 80s. It is not what it once was on Big Monday and John Thompson and Jim Boeheim and Raleigh Massimino and all of those guys. But did they reboot and reload better than any conference could have possibly done in the same situation when realignment happened? They were broken apart, a Balkan Islands type of situation. Everybody fighting for territory. Nobody knows who's in charge. The teams that played football, the schools that played football left for the ACC, for the Big Ten, etc. And then just the basketball schools banded together and said, even in this day and age of football, we're going to do basketball only. And they came together. They added Creighton. They added Xavier. They added some non-traditional, quote, Big East schools. But it worked. It worked like a charm. They got a good contract out of Fox. They still have the Big East tournament at the Garden, and away you go. You know, St. John's being relevant, playing home games, some of them at MSG, in New York City and in the Big East would be great theater. And this is where Rick Pitino belongs. He belongs in New York. He's a native New Yorker. His career comes full circle, and if you're St. John's and you've been hoping for going to the tournament and going back to Sweet 16s and Elite 8s and Final Fours like you used to do, then going after Pitino is a slam dunk. Pitino is still incredibly committed to coaching. Why at 70 years old and winner of multiple national championships, he continues to grind? Who knows? He doesn't have to. But at Iona, he was involved in everything. He shows up to practice. I mean, Boeheim never really drew up anything in his last 20 years. It was all assistant coaches, all these guys. You let your assistant coaches do everything. You're the closer on recruiting trips, if you even travel. And you roll out the balls on game day, and then you yell at refs. You do the post-game press conferences. But Pitino was in it. Pitino was practicing. Pitino was on every recruiting trip. Pitino, at 70 years old, still is a maniac. So St. John's is not getting a guy who's checked out on his last legs, is only there in name only. No, they're getting a damn good basketball coach. So I get it from a St. John standpoint, and I get it from a Pitino standpoint. You went from Iona to the Big East. Same city. Yeah. But wow, everybody forgets why Rick Pitino was available to St. John's and why he was at Iona. It's like nobody even wants to bring up why he's been so radioactive for 5 years. Rick Pitino at Louisville was just inundated by scandal. Inundated. There was almost never a season where there wasn't a scandal. Let's just take the little stuff. Rick Pitino's a liar. That's just the little stuff. And you could just say, well, college basketball coaches in general do that. That's fine. But Rick Pitino is one of the height of hypocrites, one of the peak hypocrites of our time. I mean, when he is at Louisville and the thing is breaking apart to the Big East, the ACC, et cetera, and there's schools that are fleeing to other conferences, Pitino sits there and tongue lashes them. I would never do it. You got to stay loyal to the conference. This conference made us all. You can't break away. You can't do this. These guys are traitors. The moment Louisville got a bid to go to the ACC, what do? The second, Rick Pitino, I would never do this. We would never do this. We've got a certain standard here. We've got a loyalty to the conference. Oh, wait, ACC? Yeah, we're gone. And that's just tip of the iceberg stuff. He's always been that type of guy. At Louisville, let's just talk about basketball scandal. Just basketball. Stripper parties. They ain't the first college kids to see strippers. They won't be the last. But on his watch, he says he didn't know, but his assistant coaches hired strippers to come to the dorms to have stripper and sex parties to lure recruits. If you've seen Blue Chips, you know this is not exactly something new, but for a guy in Rick Pitino's position who knows everything about everything. Oh, I didn't know. That's how we were getting kids? I didn't know. Yeah, right. Okay. So that's the first one. You can't do that. It's against the NCAA bylaws. Might have to end up sacrificing, bringing down the banner of a national championship. That's a big deal, right? I mean, they vacated a national championship because he had strippers coming onto campus for sex parties. Get on top of the guy and they'll do a lap dance. Then after that, after Louisville went on probation, after they paid their penalty for the Final Four of the national championship, then he gets embroiled in the Adidas controversy, where there's a $100,000 offer to a recruit, and that's the thing that kind of takes down everybody. Kansas got it. Will Wade at LSU got it. The FBI was involved. And yeah, Louisville was definitely making offers to pay players. Now, again, you could say, well, hey, that was what business was doing. But Pitino insisted. Clean program after the sex stripper scandal. We won't do that anymore. We're running it straight and narrow. And then suddenly jobbed again. Uh-oh. Okay, so this is why even at Louisville, where he won at a crazy pace, he was too hot to handle. You got to get out of here. You got to leave. You're toxic. You're radioactive. We can't have you here. So where does he go? To Iona, where 99.9% of this audience listening right now could not tell you where Iona is or what conference they play in. That's where he was for the last 3 years. Why was he at Iona? Because nobody else would touch him. That's 3 years ago. 3 years later, St. John's welcoming a conquering hero. It's funny how quickly people forget it. It just goes to show you, as long as you keep working, people forget. People just tend to forget. We're on to the next thing. When's Aaron Rodgers going to get traded to the Jets? Yay, Rick Pitino. He's awesome. People just forget. I mean, the peak of scumminess has been Pitino for how long? All right, we got Pitino. I mean, that doesn't even have to do with the personal stuff where, he's getting busy on a restaurant floor with a woman in Louisville that isn't his wife. I mean, that ends up being an extortion attempt against Rick Pitino. He's had himself a life here. He's had himself quite a life. People forget. People forget real quick. Will St. John's win? Hell yeah, they'll win. Yeah, because he doesn't do anything but win. All he does is win. Rick Pitino's going to win. Now, he's going to win a Final Four? Probably not. Win a national championship? Probably not. But is St. John's immediately in a better space because he's there? Yeah. Fans are engaged. Boosters engaged. City engaged. Yeah, no doubt. But let's not act like this guy is conquering hero pure as the newly fallen snow here. Rick Pitino was available to St. John's because bigger programs, better programs didn't want him.